Is it too late? Has book talk ruined originality and critical thinking in reading?
I'm a book girly.
A book girly.
A book girly.
I remember back in the day when Bookstagram felt like this wholesome corner of the internet where strangers would get together to recommend these hidden gems that they've discovered, these weird, eclectic books that no one had ever heard of. But they loved them so much that they would go online to share it with others, to share the joy of finding this book. But nowadays, Bookstagram feels like walking into this mass chain of a bookstore to be flooded by the same five books on the shelves over and over again. Akatar, Fourth Wing, Akatar, Fourth Wing, occasionally Throne of Glass, and I love Throne of Glass, don't get me wrong, but you get my point. You're constantly bombarded with the same five books on repeat. And I feel like that has really affected the quality of books and reading in general. Hi, I'm Lara. I'm a bookworm and translator, and I've read more books in my life than I can count. And today we're going to talk about some ways that BookTok and Bookstagram have ruined critical thinking and originality in the book world. The first way in which I feel BookTok has ruined originality is through the rise of a trend called performative reading. If you don't know what performative reading is, it's this new trend where reading is an aesthetic. People care more about appearing to be readers and the aesthetic of being a reader or a book girly that they're not actually reading anymore. They care more about the setup and the cozy book nook and the pretty bookshelves and collecting all of these trophy books, but they don't actually read anymore. It's more about the looks than the actual book. That rhymes. Anyway, I've noticed this trend because I've seen many creators exposed online recently for not even having read the books that they recommend. They're just recommending books that they've never read, that they've never heard of, that they don't even own, just to appear as more of a reader. And it's sad. Some creators or readers are even skipping over entire sections of a book, pages, chapters, even, just to read faster, to rack up higher and higher numbers of reads by the end of the year, as if it's a competition or a sport. It's not about that. Reading is supposed to be fun and enjoyable and reading books that you love. It's not an aesthetic. I mean, of course, being a book girly is aesthetic, but that's not the point, you know? It shouldn't be the goal of reading. The second way that I think this trend has affected reading quality and critical thinking in readers is that we no longer recommend books because they're good, but because they're trendy. If you go through Bookstagram, all book reviews and book recommendations revolve around the same five books. Few people are recommending new books. Very few people are recommending books that they loved so much and nobody knows about that they feel the need to share with others. It's all just hyping up the same books that don't need to be hyped anymore. Let's be real, Fourth Wing doesn't need any more hype. It's already overhyped as it is. Recommend new books by authors who are obscure and nobody has ever heard of. Support their work because some books are really good. They just aren't known. And it's our duty as readers to help these authors be known. I think it's sad that we just keep pushing the same books and they're not even that good. Let's be very real. They're just tropey books that cater to a few readers' interests and likes. And these few readers, because of the power of social media, have controlled the book market. They've pushed this book so much that we now think it's the top book out there, but it's not. There are so many good books out there, but they're just not trendy. They just don't follow the same storyline and the same trope and fae and magic. And I mean, some of the hyped books are actually good, of course. It's just that they're not the only books out there. They're just trendy. We just share them because they're trendy. Because readers nowadays feel the pressure to read these books, otherwise, they're judged and shamed. If you go on Bookstagram and you say that you haven't read Fourth Wing or Akatar, you're frowned upon by other readers. And I mean, nobody wants to feel judged for not having read a very hyped series. So automatically readers will fold under the pressure to read these books and read them. And they're very long series. So they will take up your entire year if you actually want to go through BookTok's must read list. And you end up not having read anything else because you're just focused on getting through the TBR that booktok has imposed on you. And on that note, the final way that booktok has ruined critical thinking that I want to touch on today is through the propagation of all of these tropes, and every new book that is released revolves around the same tropes. We've reached a level of writing that lacks substance and depth. The books that are being published today are super shallow, super bland. They become famous because of one spicy scene or one quote, or because they are enemies to lovers, or whatever other trope is trendy at the time. Books shouldn't be built on tropes. They should be built on plot and world building and depth and thought provoking conversations and interesting characters and character development arcs, and a lot of that is missing from the current books. And I think that publishing houses also play a big role in this because they just want to capitalize on profits and they see what's currently trendy and it's all of these tropes. And so they support authors who write this type of book. And I'm not judging authors. If they actually want to write this type of book, then by all means, go ahead. It's just when people write and support these types of books just to make profits, that's very sad. And publishing houses flock towards writers who write these types of books, and they neglect authors with original ideas and new ways of writing. They drop these authors and they just go towards what's trendy, and it's exacerbating the problem, I feel. And also, readers need to have more critical thinking. They need to be critical readers, they need to be able to critique a book. And if they're only chasing tropes and trends, then they're not actually reading a book. They're not actually pausing and reflecting and asking themselves whether the writing was good or the idea actually made sense or whatever else. They're just focused on reading as fast as possible so they can jump to the next book that's most likely the same as the one they're reading right now. I don't think critiquing a book is bad. You should be critical of the books you read. You can adore a book and still find flaws in it. And that's not bad. That's not shaming an author. That's not criticizing their work. It's not judging them. You're just assessing a book objectively. And so I invite us all to have a bit more of a critical eye towards what we consume. Let's read books that are new and give them a chance. Maybe they will turn out to be the best books we've ever read in our entire lives. Let's read books that don't follow the trendy, hyped tropes that are all over social media. Let's read books that are a bit more obscure and random and not really our genre. Let's just give books a chance. Let's broaden our scope. Let's look beyond what's trendy and actually read like we used to read, for the joy of it, for the thrill of discovering your new favorite book. I would be very sad if the book world kept going downhill. It would ruin the whole point of reading, and I don't think we want that. So, that was my rant for today. Until next week, I'll see you. Bye.